வணக்கம். Dr.MGR பல்கலைக்கழகம் டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் ஆஃப் ஹியூமன் ரிசோர்ஸ் மேனேஜ்மெண்ட் அவர்களுக்கு என் வாழ்த்துக்கள். Good afternoon to all and thank you all for being here and for having me here. My agenda for today is simple. As the COVID-19 pandemic unfolds, organizations are facing new and multiple challenges. I will discuss these challenges from a HR perspective, first presenting the changes that we observe and may expect in a COVID concurrent and post-COVID workplace, the human resource management issues arising from them, and some actionable solutions to address them. What was the background of all this? The wake-up call came in 2008. Since the subprime crisis, organizations have had to remain alert and adaptive to unforeseen events, but the attempts were gradual, sporadic, and discreet. Then came COVID-19. As the pandemic sweeps across the earth, organizations are facing challenges that are unprecedented in experience and unparalleled in scope. This is forcing managers to deep dive in to find immediate workable solutions to operational and technical issues, while concurrently addressing socio-psychological and personnel management issues arising out of the changes. Looking at the COVID concurrent and post-COVID world, I perceive and anticipate some major shifts in the nature and functioning of the workplace. These shifts have important implications for human resource management, not the least because workplace changes create disruptions to employee psyche and practice. The changes demand that HR managers remain responsive and adaptive as they organize and manage their workforce and enable their personnel to cope with radical changes in the work environment. Let me elaborate on some of these challenges. First, the technology challenge. COVID-19 has increased digitalization in all spheres of our professional world, whether it is education, healthcare, governance, or entertainment. Even if there is a partial post-pandemic return to business as usual, it is clear that many companies will adopt digital technologies much more than before COVID-19. This means that laggard organizations have to quickly digitalize or get wiped out. Employees who are unused to online modes of working have to be retrained or let go. Fortunately, this is good news for many of us. India has demonstrated that work from home has gone beyond our quotidian processes and scaled new innovative heights. Recently, my daughter, who is a lawyer, she completed two major corporate transactions, the Facebook Geo deal and the Google Geo deal. These two transactions set a new standard in remote negotiation with extensive M&A dialogue happening online, even including due diligence and agreement negotiations. Transactions of this magnitude, especially transnational ones, usually involve considerable travel and face-to-face meetings by the higher management and their financial and legal advisors. Yet, incredibly, all this was accomplished online and remotely. So, welcome to the world of technology and the internet. The second shift that we observe is the emergence of work from home practices. The remote working challenge is perhaps one of the most salient HRM challenges stemming from the pandemic. For the HR manager, this involves adjusting employees to drastically altered work conditions, training, and implementing new workplace policies and procedures to limit human contact. Talent acquisition and development, discipline, benefits, and compensation all introduce their own challenges in a remote work environment. HR needs to start now, collaborating closely with finance, IT, and other departments to develop and implement new protocols for work from home. The third shift that we may expect is the advent of the gig economy. A gig economy is one in which people are their own brand, traversing organizations as freelancers as the need dictates. Even before COVID-19, we were seeing permanent employers such as governments and universities cutting down on hiring and increasingly outsourcing even their core functions. As we exit from the pandemic, while some talent may be found within organizations, others will be delivered through freelancers. The time is not far off when each of us will have to get used to becoming a freelancer. Remote hiring of technical talent will become the norm. While this may be perceived as creating job insecurity, it is not necessarily a bad thing or even a new one. Take a surgeon. She is attached to one hospital, but she consults in many hospitals. Some even consult online, and she earns remuneration from multiple organizations. In a gig economy, a talented and skilled individual can peddle her expertise across organizations and be paid by all of them. Remote hiring of talent will become the norm, with corporate positions opening up to skilled candidates everywhere, prioritizing skills over pedigree and geography, all of which is good news for both the economy and the talent pool. In a gig economy, identification and retention for repeat hiring of talent is critical, even more so as on-the-job orientation factor is absent. In the longer term, companies' reputations among candidates will depend on how employees are treated during the crisis. Therefore, it is a good idea to keep your talent pipeline full and maintain contact with prospective rehires and new hires. The fourth HR challenge is the blurring of work-life boundaries. In addition to managing the increased strain that can result from transitioning to remote working, employees have to manage increased childcare concerns with the widespread suspension of schools and childcare services and cope with the constant concerns over the health and safety of family and friends. HR's role in monitoring and maintaining morale thus becomes even more crucial. Keeping employees engaged, enthused, and productive is one of HR's most valuable roles. It is a good idea to create a formal process for checking in with remote employees to ask how they are dealing with the added stress during the crisis. Next, loneliness. At first glance, work-family interconnections seem particularly demanding for employees with children. But single and childless workers are not immune to their negative consequences. They may be at greater risk of loneliness, a felt lack of purpose, social exclusion, and associated negative effects on well-being. Organizations may want to begin addressing this issue by adopting a more inclusive approach to supporting all employees, considering diverse forms of family status. A current panacea for balancing social connections embraced by many organizations involves virtual socialization, such as virtual lunches, coffee breaks, and happy hours. Now, so far, we looked at HR issues primarily from the employee's perspective. From the organization's perspective, these issues can be clubbed under the generic label of the erosion of the PE fit, the person-environment fit. PE fit theory posits that individuals are attracted to and selected by organizations whose work environments reflect their own values, cultures, and work features. However, when the work environment that supports the PE fit is drastically altered, as is happening now in response to the pandemic, the growing chasm between an individual's needs and work environment causes experiences of misfit. In normal circumstances, a nurturing culture is an antidote to misfit. But in present circumstances, to address the erosion of PE fit, organizations need to look for non-traditional ways of personnel management. Two possible solutions arise, one from the realm of entrepreneurship and another organically from the emergence of the gig economy. Entrepreneurs regularly confront dynamic and ambiguous environments. They manage to thrive because of the premium they place on autonomy, their ability to craft the perfect job, their tolerance of uncertainty, their leveraging alternative domain-specific sources of social support such as positive customer feedback and a proactive approach to new situations. HR managers may do well to cultivate and encourage the entrepreneurial mindset among their traditional flock. The second glimmer of hope arises naturally from a gig economy. After all, any of us who have worked anywhere, in any place, recognize that a workplace is not a uniformly nurturing setting. Office politics, nepotism, gossip, backbiting, all these abound in a traditional workplace. In a way, the collapse of the conventional setting may signal a welcome death knell to such unsavory aspects of an office. The gig economy and pervasive freelancing necessarily brings in cooperation and coordination across sectoral silos. As freelancing becomes prevalent, teams will be self-created rather than being curated by leaders and will be more interdependent, collaborative, agile, and flexible. All this demands that we build up networks and skills, build each other up professionally with no room for envy, undercutting, backbiting, or jealousy. I have highlighted some suggestions for HR practice in navigating the challenges of today's organizations as they respond to the grand challenge of COVID-19. The pandemic is likely to have profound socio-psychological, physical, and technical implications for employees as they attempt to adjust to their drastically altered work environments. COVID-19 has forced HR managers to help their personnel cope with and adjust to the altered work environment. Taking effective action requires leaders to conduct advanced planning and make strategic management decisions, all of which will rely heavily on the advice and insight that only HR can provide. Thank you all very much. Mikka Nandri.